Rod, welcome to the show, brother.
Oh, it's great to see you again, brother. It was so great running into you at the, forgot if it was IMN or if it was MFIN. I've been to so many conferences lately, but it was great to see you, my friend.
Conference.
MFN, that's right. That's what Shaq called it last time when we were there. That's hilarious. Yeah. But that was a lot of fun. It was great to connect with you. And it was like, it was so long overdue to do a podcast interview or two together. So, here I am on your show. You're going to be on mine. We're going to have some fun, brother.
Yeah. Well, I would love, so for everybody that's listening right now, what a treat, because you've got a story that I think is super relevant to what a lot of people are facing or potentially going to be facing right now. And I'm just going to open it up to you, brother, because I'm just going to let it cue you up and say, hey, first of all, tell everybody kind of who you are, what you've done, and then I'll just let you lead into it, because I think you're going to be able to tell a story that I think a lot of people are going to relate to, that's applicable to what's going on in today's economy right now.
Yeah. We're heading for a shitstorm. I'm just going to tell you right now. You can describe it any differently than that. That is truly what's happening. Yeah. So let me just I'm going to go way back because it'll lend some credibility to what we're going to talk about, I think. So I'm an immigrant. I'm a Dutch immigrant. I was born in the Netherlands, wooden shoes and windmills, immigrated when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's Vantje, ended up in Denver, Colorado. And we really struggled initially. I remember we shopped at an expired food store. True story. I remember drinking powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, it sounds better than it is. I remember, wearing clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till I finally lied about my age when I was 14 because I was tall and got a job at Burger King flipping burgers so I could buy my own freaking clothes. And I'm sure people that are listening have had it harder than I did. But I will tell you that I knew I wanted more. And see, my mom was a real inspiration. She had an incredible work ethic. And so she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And with her babysitting money, she was a bit of an entrepreneur. So she invested in the stock market successfully. She did IPOs. She also invested in real estate. And her first real estate acquisition was the house right across the street. She bought it when I was about 14 for about 30 grand. And then when I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep, that had gone up in value that much. And I'm like, what? You made 20 grand? You didn't? This is when 20 grand was a lot of money. So, we're talking 1977. I'm like, holy crap. Screw college, mom. I'm getting into real estate. So I got my real estate broker's license right when I turned 18. Back then you could do it with education. I could have my own office. They got smart. Now you need some experience before you can be a broker. I was smart enough to go work for a broker, but I was still living at home. My first year in real estate, I made about 8 grand. My second year, maybe 10 grand. But my third year, I made over $100,000, which back in 1980 was some real change. And so what happened between year 2 and year 3? Well, what happened was I was dating a girl named Kim, and I went to work with her dad. His name was Gino. And he taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology, how 80 to 90% of your success in anything is your mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the dry crap we talk about on our shows here, Corey. As you know, it's really, you got to take action with it. You got to do something, right? And so, he got me going on that. And then I spent a lot of time with Tony Robbins over the last probably 25 years. But, fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses that I've rented long-term in 3 states. I own thousands of apartment units now. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might say, wow. And I said, wow. Yeah. And I got a head so freaking big, I could barely fit it through a door. I thought I was a real estate god. And when that happens, God or the universe, whatever you believe, it give you a nice little smackdown. Well, that was 2008 and 9. I lost $50 million conservatively in 2008 and 9. And, so what I'm known for talking about on my podcast and, at my boot camps and whatnot is really the mindset it took to have that to lose in the first place, 50 million. But probably more importantly, the mindset to recover from it. Back in the Great Depression and even the 2008 crash, people killed themselves for losing more proportionately. And so, I really focused on mindset to pull myself back out of that, and happy to drill down on that with you if you like, buddy.
Well, I think that's the part of it I know is relevant, because there's some people right now that are, because of the cap rates and the people are going to be facing lots of adversity right now. But more importantly, though, this is really the attitude of a winner. Right? Mm-hmm. Winners never quit. And circumstances change all the time, but that's not what dictates success. Right. And it's really, again, you said it, it's mindset. It's all the other stuff that no one sees that I think is the most important. So Let's jump into that story because I think
bet.
That's an award winning.
It is, and it's so relevant, like you said right now, and even for those that aren't facing adversity, the news is going to be so bad as this thing gets worse. And don't get me started on the crap on the news. It's all crap. You don't even know what to believe anymore. And here's the thing to remember, okay? If you do get sucked into the news, remember this: they are not a public service organization. They are a for-profit organization, and they don't make money unless they scare the hell out of you or lie, and they do both. So it's really important as we go through this process and through this time, this tough time, because we're headed for a tough time. I'm going to tell you, there's 1.6 trillion in commercial debt coming due by the end of next year, and you either have to sell that property or you have to refinance it. To sell it, there's a 75% year-over-year decline in sales the first quarter of this year. The stuff's not selling at all like it used to. And of course, refinancing is a freaking nightmare because the rates have gone up, of course, cap rates have gone up, so values have gone down. Rents are not progressing hell, we had 30% rent increase in Tampa here, near where I live. And now it's way down, and in some places it's flatlined. And so, a lot of operators are in trouble, and I'm not trying to scare you because I think there's going to be incredible opportunity as well. I mean, I'm getting in a lot of cash, and I think there's going to be incredible opportunity. But let's talk about the mindset component, because I will tell you, if you're listening to this or watching this, you're a leader. You wouldn't be watching Corey if you're not a leader. And right now, the world needs leaders more than ever. Okay. And so as a leader, it is critical that you pay attention to what you're focused on. Keep out the crap. Yes, you touch on the news to see what's going on, but don't get sucked into it. Don't get sucked into the baloney on social media. I'm going to tell you, there's going to be so much misinformation. There's already a ton. It's even going to be worse with AI. I don't know if you heard, they did a whole BS interview with Joe Rogan, and it was all done with AI. It wasn't even him, and you couldn't tell the difference. So that's what's coming. You're not going to know what's real or what's not real on social. So be careful of that. But again, as a leader, stand guard at the door to your mind, bring in the good stuff. And, on my podcast, I do a clip every week called Own Your Power. And it's a motivational clip. And it's like 5 minutes. You give me 5 minutes a week, I will juice you. But YouTube has good stuff. Just bring in the good stuff. But anyway, so how did I recover? So I will tell you, a great segue here is if you come to one of my events, one of my boot camps, the first thing we do is goal setting. I mean, goal setting on steroids, because how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? You've got to know what it is you want, and you've got to create a burning desire, like Napoleon Hill talks about in his book, Think and Grow Rich. You got to want it, because that's how you push through fear. That's how you push through limiting beliefs you may have, or maybe you're comfortable. The comfort zone's a nice warm place, and we all know nothing freaking grows there, right? And so you got to get uncomfortable. And so the goals are critical. So it starts with goals, getting very clear on what you want and why you want it. And by the way, I do a goal setting workshop every New Year's Day, every year. I've done it for years. And if you go to rodslinks.com, rods plural, linksplural.com, at the bottom is my goal setting workshop. And there's a guide you can download. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Here's the thing, Corey, you know this. People spend more time planning a freaking birthday party than they do designing their lives. This is designing your life, right?
Yes.
And so go do your freaking goals. Bring your spouse, have them do it. If you've got a child that's over 10 years old, have them do it. Get them set up right. And so that's super important. So it starts with goals. And then I'm going to tell you the next piece is you got to make a decision. And I don't mean you dip your toe in the water. I don't mean 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I mean, it is freaking done. When you make a decision, you're like a train on a track. You're fully committed at that point. And if you're just interested or thinking about it or dipping your toe in the water, you're going to get knocked off track. And so, you got to make a decision.
Truth. That is so much the truth. I think about and if you look at any successful individual, I don't care who they are, right? You, me, famous athletes, they all sold out to the idea that they were going to be great, right? For me, I remember the day that I decided that I was all in, right? I remember it very vividly because I said to myself, there was no bridge that I wasn't burned and no amount of pain I was willing to not go through to be successful. I didn't care.
That's it. It's done. It's freaking done. That's it. Like, and the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. Okay. So another great analogy, you said burn a bridge. If you're going to attack the island, you're burning your ships because you're taking their damn ships home. That's a freaking decision. Okay. It's done. You're all in. There's no turning back. So that's the next piece. You do your goals. You get clear on what you want. You create that burning desire. So you push and then you make a decision. And then the next thing is you got to take that first step. And sometimes that first step can be the biggest step of your life, but you got to take it. And, I see it with my students. I know you do as well. It's the law of the first deal. It's the scariest. It takes the longest. It's the most stressful. And they're complaining. It's been 6 months, 8 months. I don't have a deal yet. Then they get one. The next thing I know, they have 3. I'm like, what the hell just happened? See, it's like they realize that it's all in their head, and then they kill it. And so I'm sure you've seen it too, time and time again. I see it with my students. And
all the time.
Right. And so you've got to take that first step. Like Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith, the next step will be revealed. Lao Tzu, thousands of years ago, said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Now, as you know, Corey, some of the most successful people in our business are analytical. And you know who you are if you're listening. And you have to check off every single freaking box before you make a move. Well, here's what I want to tell you. Okay, you're not going to know it all before you get started. So don't think you are. Don't get caught up in analysis paralysis. Remember this analogy. You can drive all the way across the United States at night, headlights seeing 50 feet in front of you, and you know you'll make it. You may have obstacles, but you know other people have made it before you. It's the same way with multifamily real estate investing, but you got to take that first step.
Oh, that's a good analogy right there, buddy.
Yeah, that's so it's true. And you know this. I mean, it's true. And it's like in anything, there's a map and a blueprint. You teach your students, I teach my students, they just have to go do it. You have to take that first step and go do it. Now, the next thing is you've got to play to your strengths. A lot of people tell you, shore up your weaknesses. I think that's a big mistake. Here's why.
Amen.
As you know, Corey, and I know you talk about this, there's multiple hats that you can wear in our business. It's a team sport. You need somebody like you and I that are the mouthpiece. We're building relationships. We're talking to brokers and investors and sellers. You need that for sure. You also need someone super analytical to underwrite the deals, because our business is primarily empirical. It's primarily numbers. You get the numbers right and you ask all the right questions. Pretty hard to make a big mistake. So you need that. You also need, like somebody super analytical. Yeah. Then you also need an asset manager. So somebody that's got project management experience or construction experience or even management experience in general. Because, you don't buy the asset and then you're done. You raise your hands up like you roped a calf. You gotta keep going for several years. The real work starts,
actually.
Right. That's when it really gets going. Right. And so, that's another hat that you wear. But here's the thing. You play to your strengths. Your strengths are your greatest assets. And if you're playing to your strengths, you love it because you're doing what you love. And if you're doing what you love, you never work another day in your life, right? And so play to your strengths. And because if you do that, when you have a speed bump and you have, a bump in the road, you'll be able to push through it because you're enjoying what you're doing. But the biggest reason to play to your strengths, in my opinion, is you'll be passionate. Okay. And in our business, it requires passion to influence people, and you're influencing, partners and investors and so on and so forth. And if they feel that passion, they want to work with you. People want to work with people that obviously love what they do and are passionate about.
I love it no matter what, the good, bad, and the ugly. I love all of it. That's like the difference, right? It's got to be like, I love being an operator. I love all the things and all the challenges. I like working with my team.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. And that's it. And when you operate like that and you're enjoying it and you're not trying to push yourself through stuff you don't like, man, I mean, again, work is play. And so, so that's the next big thing. I talked about focus, and focus is super, super important right now because, whatever you focus on is going to get bigger, positive or negative. Right. And so, if you're focused on the stuff on the news, that's going to get bigger. You're going to get more stressed out and your blood pressure is going to go up. And that's why the goals are so important. Every morning after you've done your goals, you take a look at them and you think about them. You think about what you're going to do that day towards them. And what the goals do is it triggers something in your brain called your reticular activating system. And that's that filter, when people are crazy, typically that's damaged in them and it kind of filters out, things. And so, but it also helps you focus on what you're interested in. And guys, the greatest example is when you first buy a car. You never really notice them. You buy the car and then you see them everywhere. Were they there before? Of course they were. And that's your reticular activating system. And that's why goals are so freaking powerful. But so anyway, goals, make a decision, take that first step, play to your strengths. And then the next piece is your peer group. You got to get around people that aren't afraid of what you want, and here's the sad reality. So many people will default to a peer group they went to school with or they work with. And a lot of times those people, out of their own fear or their own limiting beliefs or their fear of losing you or fear of feeling humiliated if you succeed or their own fear of failure and all that, they'll hold you back. And sometimes it's family.
It's the ones that are closest to you, Rod.
Right,
it always is, man. I swear to God.
Right. And so love your family, but choose who you allow to influence you, right? When I was losing everything in 2008 and 9, I was in Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership. And there were people that were killing it through that crash. They're like, 50 million schmillion, get up, you puss, go make something happen. All right. That's what they told me. Is that who you want to be around when the stuff hits the fan? You better believe it. Right. And so it's in what's coming. Be sure you're around people that are not in fear, people that want more. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to brag for a minute. So I've got coaching students like you do, and we're doing a count right now, and they're called my warriors, and I'm pretty sure we're going to hit 170,000 units that they own. And I've only been teaching 5 years. I'm super freaking proud of that. And the reason I bring that up is most of those are done between warriors. They're done between peers like that, because there's strength in numbers.
They come into the deal and they realize that this is where I can grow and find the family to put that piece together.
That's it. And that ecosystem is extraordinary. And I know you have the same thing. It's just, it is what they need so they can see other people have done it. They can lean on other people. They can work together. And, a rising tide lifts all ships. And so, who do you want to be around? You want to be around people that think what you think is hard is easy. And so get in a group like that. If you're listening, go to your local meetup groups, go to multifamily groups, look into Corey's program, look into my program, whatever, and get in a group like that, because that's where you need to be in what's coming. You can't be around people that are afraid of what's coming, because they will hold you back. And I'm going to tell you, when you're thinking about this business or any business, listen, everything's going on sale. Okay. Businesses, you can buy businesses in what's coming. I promise you. Other asset classes of real estate. I don't think there's anything better than multifamily, but other asset classes. But here's the thing. You got to pick your vehicle now, because the shit's about to hit the fan. And if you're trying to learn it in the thick of it, it's going to be too late. You need to build relationships. You need to understand what you're doing. So get educated quick. Pick your vehicle and get educated quick, because it's coming. Could be the greatest transfer of wealth we see in our lifetime, but you got to get up to speed. So pay attention to who you're hanging out with. The next thing I want to talk about is fear and limiting beliefs. And that's why I brought this stuff up on the desk. So when I immigrated to this country, I got thrown into school and I discovered what bullies were for the first time. So I got my butt kicked occasionally. And then my mom, proud Dutch woman that she is, thought it'd be a great idea to send me to school in these wooden shoes and these leather shorts that the Germans wear for Oktoberfest. Okay. These are the real ones that I ended up schooling, because we found them when we put my mom in assisted living. So I got my ass kicked again. And then we had people that lived at the end of my street, bullies that lived at the end of my street, and she'd chase them off with a fly swatter. So the next day I got my butt kicked. And so, I came up with this belief system that I wasn't good enough. I used to ask myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? Which of course presupposed I wasn't. And a lot of people have these limiting belief systems. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not analytical enough. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. Here's the thing to remember. There's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS. Because 99% of them are just that, they're BS. But see, we believe they're real. And so if you know you have one of these, and sometimes it's subconscious, but if you're consciously aware of something, when it shows up, drag it out into the daylight consciously with your adult rational mind, look at it, recognize that it's BS, and ultimately it will go away. I mean, I used to be afraid to raise my hand in class, and now, I speak in front of thousands and thousands of people a year because I burned that up, because I realized it was BS. So that's the next, that's it.
To. I mean, I remember I raised my first piece of private money by accident, Rod. And I remember I felt like that moment, every limiting belief that I put on myself too, is like I went into the telephone booth as Clark Kent and I come out like Superman, because I shattered everything. I was like, oh my God.
Right.
And then I was like, once I did, my eyes opened up and I'm like, oh my God, this is doable. And within a year and a half, I had $2 million of other people's money in me, because it was instant. And I was like, God, I've been carrying this ball and chain for so long. What the hell?
Yeah, people, I will tell you, we all build these boxes that that we have to climb out of. And I'm going to tell you, pretend there isn't a box. I tell the story at my boot camps of my dad worked for Continental Airlines for 36 years. They used to have the gold tail. We used to say it was the proud bird with the golden tail is what they used to say. We said it was a proud bird with a brass ass. But every time one of those flew by, he'd make us as kids put our hands over our heart and watch it go by. It's a true story. He loved that company. Worked for him for 36 years and got laid off. Okay? There's no job security. The only job security you got's between your freaking ears. And he used to tell me, like, when he'd been there about 20 years, he's like, you need to get a real job. This is when I was getting into real estate. You need to get a real job so you get a pension. Like, and you know how much pension my mom got? $697 a month. Okay. Who lives on that? That doesn't even pay your freaking utility bill. But anyway, so that's a super important piece. And let's talk about failure for a minute. I call them seminars. It's never a failure. It's a freaking seminar. It's a failure if you don't get back up or you don't get the lesson. And we fail our way to success. That was a $50 million seminar. It was a big one. Don't get me wrong. It was a big seminar, but it was a seminar. And I'll tell you, I've built 27 businesses in my career. I was shocked to count them a couple of years ago. 27 so far. Several worth tens of millions of dollars. Most spectacular flaming seminars, right? Again, we fail our way to success. I got to meet.
Where do you learn more from, Rod? Right?
That's
your
it.
Success or your failures. I would say your failures are the biggest teacher.
Thank you. I used to say I still say at my boot camps, don't do that. Ask me how I know. So I had one of my students give me a shirt that says #ask me how I know. Now we give them away at my boot camps because it's like I've made every freaking mistake you can possibly make. Learn from my mistakes. I didn't have mentors, when I was growing up about real estate. Yeah, I had the guy about the mindset, but not really about real estate. And, and you're so blessed now if you're thinking about getting into this business, people like Corey, people like myself, that you can go work with. So, to shorten that learning curve, to pay for speed.
We've already been bludgeoned, right? We've already been bludgeoned. Yeah, we already know.
Yeah. If you look at us, if you saw us, you got axes sticking out of our back and arrows sticking out of our heads and everything else. I mean, just look, it's there. And so that's what you do. You basically pay for speed. But I'll tell you, this business is exciting. There's a lot of freaking opportunity coming. And let me mention a couple other quick things. One is the use of gratitude. Okay. And this may sound a little foofy to you, but I'm going to tell you, listen up, because this is how I had 50 million to lose and how I got it back. So ignore it at your peril, or, think if it's too foofy. So, gratitude is the most powerful emotion we have available to us. And it's how we manifest everything we want in our lives. It lowers your blood pressure. It strengthens your immune system. You can't be fearful and grateful at the same time. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time. So you want to use gratitude to get what you want. So I will tell you, most mornings I will sit in my recliner and I'll be grateful for my supermodel beautiful wife. And she is freaking supermodel beautiful, and she's more beautiful on the inside than the outside. I'll be grateful for my kids. I'll be grateful for my coaching students, my foundation. But then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And I'll say, thank you, God. And I will tell you, sometimes I've gotten emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet. Why? Because it freaking works. So again, I know some of you are like, oh, for God's sakes, can we talk about real estate? Well, this is more important. Trust me, this is more important than the real estate. So use gratitude. And one final thing I want to bring up, and that is, when I lived in Denver, I always knew I wanted to live on the beach. And well, actually, before I do that, do you mind if I plug my boot camp real quick?
Yeah, plug it, man.
Okay, so I've got a 3-day boot camp coming up in Orlando. You can come for $197 freaking dollars. Okay, I could sell it for $3,000. It's not a big sales pitch. It is 3 days of training. Come for $197 if you use the code Corey, COREY. Okay, use the code Corey. Come for $197. It'll be $600, $700, even $800 by the time it comes around. So it's a hell of a deal. It's not a sales pitch. It's and where you want to go is you go to rodslinks.com, like Rods Plural, links.com, or if you're driving, text the word links to 72345, and just remember, and then that's my link tree. There's a bunch of free resources there, free books, all sorts of great stuff. But then my goal setting workshop, like I said, but at the top's my bootcamp website. Use the code Corey, come for $197, and we go through every aspect of the business, and it's a blast. There should be about 1,000 people there, and and if you don't love it, I'll give you your money back. And I don't mean like it, I mean freaking love it. I'll give you your money back, and I mean that sincerely. Only complaint we ever get is the food sucked or the room was too cold or something like that. It's It's never about the content. But anyway, I hope you'll come. Again, rodslinks.com, a bunch of free books there as well. Best in class in some cases, books. I've got an asset management book that's incredible. How to hire third-party property management, incredible. My number 1 best-selling book, How to Create Lifetime Cash Flow. You pay $6-7 and we'll send you the actual book for the shipping for it. Yeah, I hope you come to the boot camp. But let me share this last piece. So I lived in Denver and I knew I always wanted to live on the beach. I'd see pictures of the beach and the palm trees and the sand, and I visualized that for 20 years. And I ultimately built this $8 million, 10,000 square foot mansion on the beach. And it was unthinkable though when I was 18, but I made it happen. And 2 months after I moved in, so I worked for this house for 20 years, okay? 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in the pool at night and I'm looking up at this testament to my ego, because that's really what it was. It was to prove the world I was good enough. And just to describe this house, okay, giant waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool. You had to walk through the waterfall to get into the pool. Pool was in magazines. It had a spiral staircase up through the middle of the house. And by the way, I owned the beach on one side and I had my boat lifts on the backside. It was called a Gulf to Bay. So I had both sides, like a slice through an island. Yep. And wine cellar, elevator. On the second floor, I had aquariums that wrapped around the staircase that cost me almost $200,000. So this gives you an idea of the house. So I'm floating in the pool. I'm looking up at this thing and I get depressed. And I don't mean a little depressed. I mean, I was really bummed. I'm like, what the hell? I just achieved success like times 1,000. I had the Mercedes and the Maserati and all the cars and the boats and the jet skis and all the stupid shit that I thought was important. And when I look back on it, Corey, there were several things happening and they're really important. One is it's never about the goals. You got to have the goals. Like they say, the happiest days of a boat owner's life are the day they buy the boat and the day they sell the boat, right? So you need the goals to create that burning desire to go actually take action. But happiness comes from progress and growth. And I didn't know what I was going to do next. The good book says, without a vision, the people perish. I didn't have a vision for the future. So that was a big piece. But the biggest piece was I was totally focused on me. Rod. Show the world I'm good enough. Show the world I matter. And that's the year I met Tony. And I went to one of his events and I saw that he fed families for the holidays. And I'm like, what a concept. Do something for someone else. And I'm embarrassed to say I had to be 40 to get that memo. This is 23 years ago. And so I went back, I called my brother and I said, bro, let's feed 5 families. So because I was going to back to Denver for Thanksgiving. And so he went to his church and found 5 families that really needed help. And we bought food and frozen turkeys and toys for the kids if they had them. And the third family changed my life, Corey. We go up to this house and there's this Hispanic woman, 5 kids. And it wasn't even a 1-bedroom. It was a crappy 1-bedroom. And she comes out and she sees this stuff on the porch and she starts crying. Her kids come out. 2 of the older ones start crying. I start crying and I'm freaking hooked. And I'm blessed to say in the last 23 years, we fed about 140,000 children here in Sarasota and Bradenton, Florida. And stick with me. There's a message in this. This is not Rod bragging. Okay. There's a big message in this. We've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies. Local. In fact, we're doing 1,800 or 15 to 1,800 backpacks on August 4th coming up. We've done tens of thousands of teddy bears filled with, for officers to put in their cars if they encounter a child that's been traumatized. And the reason I bring this up is we've been taught that we have to achieve to be happy. Like we shouldn't be happy until we've achieved. Now, I know this is going to be a play on words, but it's an important one. If you give back in any fashion, you're happily achieving. Okay. And Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Achievement's a science. If you want to learn multifamily, get your ass to my boot camp or, sign up for Corey's program, whatever, but learn it because it's a science. We'll give you the map and the blueprint. You just got to go do it. Right. Yep. But fulfillment's an art. You got to find what juices you. Okay. You got to find what you love. For me, it's kids. Maybe for you, it's animals or the environment or, the elderly, whatever it is, and give back right now, because not only will you be happily achieving, but the success will come faster. The money will come faster. That's just the way God works. The universe, whatever you believe, that's the way it works. Yeah. And so make sure you're giving back right now. And you're saying, if you say to yourself, well, you got money, that's why you do it. Big mistake. Because again, the money comes faster. So give of your time or give a little bit of money. And that's how you do it. So
Amen. Rod, I just wanted to thank you for coming on and sharing the wisdoms. Guys, if you're listening to this podcast right now, take Rod up on his offer. The link's in the show notes, guys.
Oh, let me mention one thing, Corey. I forgot. Yeah, if you go to rodspodcast.com. It's a link to my podcast. I'm blessed to say it's the largest commercial real estate podcast in the world. We're at 17 million downloads. And it's just about multifamily like Corey's. And, I hope you'll check it out. It's just go to rodspodcast.com and that's the link directly. It's got Stitcher and iTunes and all that stuff on there. It's on my Rod's links as well. Thank you. I forgot to mention my podcast. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time. I love the passion. I love the charisma. It's real.
Thanks, bud.
It's very real,
Thanks.
right? And authenticity is seldom found nowadays, right? And so thank you for being humble about your success and understanding that there's more than life than just things and objects. Giving back is super important. And I do agree. The law of reciprocity is you start giving, it'll come back and find you and it'll jump truck you more than you ever know, right?
No, that's how it works. It comes back 100-fold, 1,000-fold. It's just incredible. What you give, you receive. So just give. Awesome. That's it. You want love, you give love. You want happiness, you give happiness. Whatever you want, you give. You'll get it.
Amen. So on to shut it down, I'll say this, man. Rod said it in the very beginning. It really is all about belief, right? Yeah. And if you're listening to this podcast right now, I'm going to challenge you right now to take action, and start that first action is put that belief in your mind. Firmly see where you want to go. Make a choice today, guys, because success will find you if you will chart the course and start walking towards it. Baby steps. If that's all you can do, take baby steps to get there. Guys, if you believe it, you can achieve it, and your paradise is possible.